Welcome, council colleagues. Welcome those of you who are here this evening with us as members of the public or members of the media, and of course, welcome to anyone who is streaming online. This is council meeting number 35, Tuesday, September 21st, 6:30 p.m. I would like to venture into some commentary on the federal election the day after, but I won't. But obviously, we're through a big moment for Canada, and that is our most recent federal election, so I do hope everyone voted. And I was hearing from some of my kids that they were given the opportunity to cast a ballot, if you will, in their classrooms, and that was some interesting table discussion for us last evening. Anyway, thank you for your patience as we're starting a little bit late. It is my pleasure to call the meeting to order and to approve the agenda. I'll note, colleagues, there are a couple of deferrals, but at this time I'll ask that the motion as presented be approved, and then we'll deal with the deferrals for two items as they come up. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Barclay and Councillor Sullivan. You will move and second the adoption of the agenda as presented. All in favor, colleagues? Good, thank you. The agenda passes. Second, I believe, is a delegation about Franco-Ontarian Day. We're very excited about that, but before I do that, I'll just ask for disclosures of interest. Colleagues, in regards to anything on the agenda, any disclosures of interest in regards to perceived or real financial benefit or loss? Seeing none, I think it's my pleasure now to welcome a number of you. I have 4 names on the list. Is everyone coming down? Just 2. Donc, Anna, Madame Cortesoni, c'est ça? OK. Bienvenue. Et aussi Madame Laforêt ou Madame Burns? No. OK. 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 Bienvenue. Oh, Monsieur Castonguay. Oui. OK. Bienvenue. Come on down. Vous êtes le nouveau directeur? Oui. OK. Fantastique. Nous sommes très heureux d'avoir vous avec nous ce soir. Donc, allons-y. Ah oui, bien sûr. Oui, pas un problème. Oui. Tu sais.
Oh, there. OK, pousse fort.
OK, voilà.
Test. Oh,
OK.
L'École élémentaire et secondaire publique Rivière-Rideau du Conseil des écoles publiques de l'Est de l'Ontario et l'Académie catholique Notre-Dame du Conseil des écoles catholiques du Centre-Est font la demande officielle de tenir une levée du drapeau franco-ontarien.
Alors, nous serions honorés si Madame la mairesse et les conseillères et conseillers municipaux pouvaient se joindre à nous pour cette belle célébration. Des représentants des écoles des 2 conseils scolaires francophones de Campbell assisteront à cet événement.
Donc, le lieu officiel, la levée officielle, c'est à 10h20 le 24 septembre qui s'en vient 2001. Nous demandons que le drapeau soit en place jusqu'à la fin de la journée, le 25 septembre 2021. Journée officielle des Franco-Ontariens et Franco-Ontariennes.
Et puis, chers conseillères et conseillers, pour vous mettre un peu en contexte du pourquoi, donc, depuis 2010, le 25 septembre souligne le jour des Franco-Ontariennes et des Franco-Ontariens. La loi sur cette journée officielle, adoptée à l'unanimité le 26 avril 2010 par l'Assemblée législative, proclame le 25 septembre de chaque année comme le jour des Franco-Ontariennes et des Franco-Ontariens. Chaque année, cette journée marque et met en lumière la contribution de la communauté francophone de l'Ontario à la vie culturelle, historique, sociale, économique et politique de la province. La municipalité de North Grenville a la chance de compter plus de 1000 francophones et nous savons que ces gestes symboliques seraient appréciés par la population francophone et francophile. Merci de votre appui et de votre collaboration.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, je pense que c'est le 3e ou le 4e année que nous célébrons cette journée. Nous célébrons cette journée. Donc, I think it's a real pleasure for us to recognize the day, as we have done on several occasions before now. I'll ask my colleagues if you have any questions or comments at this time. Seeing none? Okay. Do you want to try out your very good French? Councillor Charguian?
Non, mais merci beaucoup pour être venu ici ce soir. Ça nous fait plaisir de célébrer avec vous autres pendant le 24, 25 et pendant tous les jours. Je ne savais pas qu'on avait 1000 familles ici, 1000 personnes dans cet endroit, parce que c'est pas surprenant, mais c'est pas un environnement très francophone comme tel. Alors, merci beaucoup et on vous verra vendredi certainement.
Parfait,
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Et est-ce qu'il y aura l'occasion pour les familles, les enfants de joindre la célébration cette année?
Les familles seront les bienvenues, mais
OK.
puisque les conseils scolaires n'ont pas permis de sortie,
OK.
vous le savez, dans le passé,
C'est-
on a
c'est-
toujours aimé amener les élèves
Oui.
pour célébrer les deux écoles, mais avec les restrictions en place, le conseil nous demande d'attendre avant de faire une sortie. Donc,
L'année prochaine, on espère.
Peut-être, oui, on se
C'est
croise
ce
les
qu'on
doigts l'année
souhaite, oui.
prochaine, tout à fait.
On
Donc,
espère? On
Oui,
espère?
tout à fait.
Okay. I was just asking if families and children could join as they have in previous years, mais malheureusement, not this year because of some COVID restrictions that are fairly widely applied across schools.
Il va y avoir une rediffusion Facebook Live, je
Oh,
crois.
oui.
Donc, il va y
fantastique.
avoir la possibilité que
Oui.
les élèves puissent voir, puis les membres du personnel puissent voir la levée du drapeau.
OK.
Donc, il y a quand même ça. Ils vont pouvoir participer virtuellement.
Okay, c'est bon. C'est une bonne idée. Okay, then Councillor Strachan, perhaps I can look to you to move that council for another year, proclaim September 25th as Franco-Ontarian Day, and direct the Franco-Ontarian flag be raised September 24th and 25th. So Councillor Strachan moves, and a seconder, please. Oh, thank you, Councillor Sullivan, whose children I think are also students of the French Catholic Board. So you are well represented here, as I think you, I think you appreciate on both the French Catholic and the French public side. So merci beaucoup. I will call the question. All in favor? Bon. Okay, it passes. Bon courage, and we look forward to celebrating with you. Okay, merci. Okay, so colleagues, we'll now go to items listed on the consent agenda. Of course, the consent agenda is a way of creating some efficiencies for items that do not require significant discussion, if any. And you'll note that there are a number of sets of minutes and resolutions as part of the council consent agenda. So I'll look to see if anyone wishes to remove anything from the consent agenda. Seeing nothing, then I'll look for a mover that the consent agenda be adopted as presented. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Over here, Councillor Strachan. Okay, and I'll call the question on that then. All in favor? Okay, perfect. That passes, thank you. And now we will move on to, of course, as I noted, there are some changes. So we had foreseen a report about broadband challenges and opportunities in the municipality of North Grenville. We know they are ample, and we have decided to delay that report because of some forthcoming news that we expect will emerge in the coming weeks by virtue of the fact that the federal election is over and there are some funding programs poised to make announcements. And we have some indication that we may ourselves receive some good news, we hope, cross our fingers. So I think it'll be best if we wait for this report until we have a better understanding of where there may be some improvements coming in any case, and that will give us the opportunity to better understand where we may have to fill in some gaps. There no doubt will be gaps no matter what may come our way in the next month or two. So at this point, I'll look to actually have one of you move and two of you move and second the deferral. Thank you, Councillor Strachan. And the seconder, Councillor Sullivan. And to be clear, the report is publicly posted. It identifies a number of different options in terms of how municipalities such as ours in Eastern Ontario and several others are tackling the broadband problem. So I think there's some really good information. I just think Council would benefit from some additional information that may be coming our way before we make a recommendation about how the municipality may or may not more directly become part of a solution. So that's really the only reason for the deferral at this stage. So the minute we have news, I think we'll ask Ms. Janou to come back with some additional information. I have a mover and a seconders. Is there any questions?
Just a question about when we might expect it to come back. I think you said 1 or 2 months, and that means November?
Yes, the federal election put a pause on joint federal-provincial announcements for pre-existing broadband investment applications, if you will. So having spoken to relevant provincial and federal officials, we were advised that once the feds got their house in order and that announcement could be made, we could expect it in a matter of weeks, or I would say up to a couple of months at the latest. Good? Okay, thanks for the question. Anyway, I don't want to say too much because it's all speculation at this point, but we are certainly hopeful that a round of funding that was made available to internet service providers in the area may bear fruit. That's certainly what we're aiming for. So I'll call the question on that at this point. All in favor? Good. Okay. So that is the deferral. Next, I think I have the pleasure, if I'm not mistaken, to welcome Ms. Jill Sturdy. And Jill is going to speak to, I think, one of our favorite subject matters, and that is the incredible effort by the community of North Grenville and as led by members of the Health, Wellness and Fitness Advisory Committee. And I do recognize Mr. Robert Matheson in the room as one of our committee members at the time who very much stewarded and shepherded all of the community engagement that was forthcoming and was part of our incredible success. So as given the fact that we were crowned in July Canada's most active community, municipal staff has been contemplating alongside the committee where we might be able to invest some of those dollars. And I know Jill is here to speak to where we've landed in terms of the next steps. Thank you, Ms. Sturdy.
Thank you. As you mentioned, I'm here tonight to present the report on where to spend the 2021 Participation Community Better Challenge $100,000 grand prize funds. The recommendation put forth is to solicit input from the public by way of a survey on how best to use the money, the grand prize money of $100,000. So as you mentioned, Mayor Peckford, in June 2021, the municipality of North Grenville participated in the Participation Community Better Challenge. This was initiated, as you mentioned, by the Health, Wellness and Fitness Advisory Committee. Local businesses, community organizations, families, and individuals of all ages and abilities took part and took on the challenge, really. As a result, and after an incredibly active month, North Grenville was crowned Canada's most active community. In fact, we logged over 9.9 million minutes. So along with the title came a grand prize of $100,000. In accordance with the participation funding guidelines, this prize money is to be used to establish recreational opportunities that will promote ongoing physical activity in the community. Staff have put forward some key recreational opportunities, and it is suggested that they be listed in the form of a survey for residents to rank in order of priority. In addition, we will include an other category for members of the public to suggest other opportunities that we may not have included. So the recreational opportunities being presented were identified by staff based on participation funding guidelines, public priorities that came out of the 2020 Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan, as well as the Asset Management Plan, input from the public during the Community Better Challenge, and of course that are sort of within the $100,000 budget. The 5 key recreational opportunities that staff have identified to be presented to the public for ranking include, number 1, investments in rural play structure infrastructure combined with new adult fitness equipment. Number 2, upgrades to the existing BMX pump track at Riverside Park. Number 3, establishment of a new pickleball court at Riverside Park. Number 4, new and upgraded docks and launches throughout North Grenville, including urban and rural paddler access. And number 5, improving active travel connectivity to parks. So for example, investment in trails and parkways. And then of course, number 6 would be that other category that members of the public can fill in. In terms of a timeline, staff is suggesting that the survey period occur during the fall, and the findings from the survey be presented back to Council by December 2021 to approve a final decision on how the funds shall be utilized in 2022. Thank you, and I welcome any comments and discussion on this very exciting initiative.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I've been, of course, involved in this from the beginning as well, being on the committee. But after our win, I kind of bounced around the idea, and I think others have thought of this as well. It's not necessarily my idea, but one thing on the list I don't see, which could be end up under other. But I was thinking that I'd like to see the dollars spread amongst our hamlets. We are spending several millions of dollars here in Kemptville on our parks, of course, and the Park and Rec plan and whatnot. So lots of money is being spent in this area. And I think it would be nice if we could add that to the list if the residents would consider or think it was a good idea to divide the dollars up to these smaller hamlets that we have in North Grenville, who are often in need of some kind of funds. It wouldn't be a large amount, but I think the amount, even if you divide it by 4 or 5, whatever it is still significant for a small community like them. So anyways, that's my thought. If you could add that to the list, that would be great if my council colleagues agree, as one of the options.
Can I respond? Does number 1 capture that, Councillor? Investments in rural play structure infrastructure combined with new adult fitness equipment? I suppose rural could mean in the hamlet play structures. Does that capture your point?
I don't think so. It's not very specific.
Okay.
I think if somebody's reading a survey, they may not pick up on that. The bulk of our population lives, in surrounding Kemptville area, and then the rest is rural and spread out into the hamlets. So I'd like to be more specific, and again, it's just my thought. If my council colleagues don't agree or staff doesn't agree, that's fine. But just want to put that out there.
Okay, I have Councillor O'Sullivan and Councillor Strachan. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a question to clarify, do we have to have a decision made by the end of December of this year of what we're going to do with the money? That's the first question.
We have a year to decide how to spend the money or where to spend the money, and up to 2 years to spend it.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question, with respect to spreading it, spread the love around, if you will, through the municipality into the hamlets. I think the first item, which included play structures and infrastructure and maybe adult equipment, I think that would apply to the hamlets, but it sort of is prescriptive in terms of what they could ask for. And it has to be something that's related to fitness and activity, so they can't just ask for an upgrade or to their buildings, etc. So I think if it could be reworded that it just includes some kind of fitness or activity producing infrastructure, whatever they need, and in the rural hamlets. Does that cover it, Deputy Mayor?
I only think that if we can have the word hamlet in there, whether you word that into the Because I guess I can't see where in the general rural area you would put something unless you're dedicating a park somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in a sense, other than the hamlets that we're speaking of. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's other subdivisions or areas that we're looking at. So, but it's just a survey. It's just to get feedback back from people. And if they think that's a good idea, great. If not, we'll see what people say.
Thank you. I was just thinking that, like Bishop's Mills apparently is in need of some new upgrades for their outdoor rink, and that would apply because it's for outdoor physical activity. So that would certainly be something that Bishop's Mills might want to ask for or put in the survey. Anyway, I totally agree that spreading the love around through the hamlets is really important.
Councillor Strachan?
Thank you very much, Ms. Sturdy. I think that this is a great opportunity. I think there's a bit of a catch with spreading things too thin, though, that we won't be able to accomplish as much as we would like. Play structures are exorbitantly expensive. So I think it needs to be balanced with what perhaps if we would be considering building it into our existing budget and, trying to, match funds or something like that. But I mean, that comes at a cost obviously to taxpayers beyond this bit of a windfall. So I think that to build off of what the Deputy Mayor has suggested, that perhaps we see what the results are of the survey and that as staff evaluates what responses come back, that you take into consideration how the wealth could be spread throughout the community, that based on the responses, and that may achieve the same goal. I think it's challenging to put it in a survey and not be specific enough at the same time, because I think the purpose of this is to take information that was gleaned from a previous survey, correct? And then say these were the priorities that were already indicated and using that information to help inform this survey, right? So, so I think perhaps there's some of that. I think if we can build off of all those pieces and see what comes back to us, are they, in the survey, is it select the one that you want most, or is it a possibility of residents being able to rank them? Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping, is that they could rank them in order of preference.
So maybe that would give us a sort of a range of options as well built into it automatically that will allow us to, spread the wealth, so to speak, as another way of doing it rather than just leaving it as an open broader question. So I like that it's specific. At first I wasn't too sure. I thought maybe this is just sort of already telling people what what needs to be done, but I think it needs to be specific. Otherwise we wind up with just a survey that doesn't really get us anywhere as well. So those are my comments anyway. Thank you.
Okay. Jill, I was asked to bring to Council's attention that there was a member of the committee who reached out to me in regards to adding a question when it comes to lighting for the soccer fields at South Gore Park. So that was something I think that had been mentioned when you were soliciting feedback from the committee, and this particular committee member felt strongly that that was another thing that should be canvassed in terms of where the community sits for priorities. Obviously, I think Councillor Strachan is bang on. This is about soliciting feedback. We made a commitment as we were undertaking participation that we would take the pulse of the community, that we would solicit feedback, we would see where the energy was, we would see where there might be some opportunities for additional grants or private sector collaboration to make some of these things happen. And I think it's the hope of the committee, certainly, Deputy Mayor, if I have this right, that we should be able to potentially accomplish more than one, or at least plan for some of those other things as they align with the Parks Rec master plan that was developed and that you referenced. So I did want to flag that there has been a request to add the lighting for soccer fields at South Gore Park. Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a comment. We were speaking to the CEO of Participation, and we have the potential to win every year after this. So there's no cutoff. So get ready for next year and start moving.
Deputy Mayor's bang on. When we spoke to the CAO, it was one of Deputy Mayor's first questions. I was surprised by the answer, quite frankly. I thought they might say, no, you get your turn. But to be clear, they were genuinely, I think, thrilled by the energy that North Granville brought to the table. They encouraged us, you'll remember this, Deputy Mayor, you asked the question, to do quarterly challenges to keep the momentum going. And my God, if we won't be ready for next year after having prepped for this past year with a very short timeline, it would be shocking. So I know this community has a lot in store for the coming months and year. And, you know, the survey really is, I think, just a chance to take the pulse. So look forward to what we get. And I do think, Ms. Sturdy, ranking the options is like, you know, we're such recreational enthusiasts in the community, not just council, but so many people, I think, care so deeply about recreation. I think the ranking system is really the way to go, because I think people will have a difficult time sort of choosing amongst such an impressive list. So, and I think you've captured the point around rural hamlets, if I'm not. Okay. Okay. Any other feedback from Ms. Sturdy at this time? Yes, Councillor Barclay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To your point about the work that was done with the Parks, Rec and Culture Master Plan, it would be helpful, I think, or instructive for participants of the, or you know, survey takers, just to have a link to it so they could see some of the smart thinking that went into it and might inspire some suggestions.
I should also say that I don't think I can name the sponsor, but as we were doing participation, a private sector sponsor did emerge. In fact, several did, but one in particular went down the path with us, and they were very intrigued and excited to learn that North Granville was likely to be crowned Canada's most active community, and that in fact happened, and they've come forward with a $50,000 sponsorship for something in Riverside Park. They were very focused on Riverside in particular. That might be another good reason, Deputy Mayor, to take a hard look at those rural hamlets, right, as another piece of the equation when we are looking specifically at the participation funds. But it's to say that I think the participation recognition positions the community nicely for not just one sponsorship, but perhaps several. And once we have the feedback, I think we'll be working hard to do what we can to move as many forward as possible. So, okay. So, Deputy Mayor, would you like to move the motion, please?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, just another quick comment, and you and I know, I won't mention names, but we're getting on calls in the last little while, and some of these individuals from outside of the community are mentioning that we are the winners of the participation. So the news has gotten out, and it kind of it's putting us on the map. So we're going to try and milk it as much as we can for the next year, hopefully. But anyways, it was good. It's interesting to hear strangers getting onto a Zoom call and saying, "Hey, heard you guys are #1. That's cool." Anyways, so I think it's a good thing all around. It's great for the community, but it's also good for good exposure too.
Good.
And I will motion.
Okay. And Councillor Sullivan as Parks and Rec liaison. Okay. So it be it resolved that Council directs staff to solicit input from the members of the community by way of an online survey concerning how best to use the 2021 Participation Community Better Challenge 100,000 grand prize funds and report back to Council. It says at a future date, but we say soon. But we know it'll take a bit to get the survey out there and make sure people have time to complete it. So that's the motion. Any further comment, colleagues? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. Thank you. That passes, not surprisingly. Okay. Next, I have the pleasure of, I think, welcoming Ms. Janou, who's going to speak about the municipality's recent efforts in regards to truth and reconciliation. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Council, for receiving this report tonight. And I first want to acknowledge the team that's working on this effort as well. It's not just me, Jill Sturdy as well, Tammy Hurlbert, and Keena Boyce. They couldn't attend tonight, but they've been working really hard with me on this. So in June 2021, Council directed staff to investigate creating a land acknowledgement. Staff has since been working on a comprehensive response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or the TRC, calls to action that were released in 2015. Additionally, on August 11, 2021, Council moved to recognize September 30th as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, following the federal government's establishment of the holiday, and to fly the Every Child Matters flag in place of the North Grenville flag. In place of the North Grenville flag. September 30th has previously been known as Orange Shirt Day, as I'm sure you're aware. The municipality is committed to a meaningful reconciliation process. To achieve this, the planned process will engage local Indigenous people to work alongside council and staff in identifying strategies which respond both to the TRC calls to action, as well as to the interests and needs of Indigenous people who live and work in North Grenville. As a first step, all of staff and members of council are taking part in Indigenous awareness training. This training will become an integrated part of our training processes. In the near future, the municipality will also be creating a diversity and inclusion plan. On September 30th, the municipality will recognize the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation by raising the Every Child Matters flag. Staff and residents are invited to attend the flag-raising ceremony and to wear orange. The flag will continue to fly, as I mentioned, in place of the North Grenville flag until the end of October, and then will be installed on the Municipal Center. In future years, plans to develop a more fulsome recognition of the day will be based on the advice and direction received through the planned engagement process. Staff plan to bring a report to Council in November detailing a comprehensive truth and reconciliation response, including a land acknowledgement for the municipality. Staff have engaged an advisory firm to help us on this journey, and they're called First Peoples Group. They'll be helping us by guiding the process. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. I know internally there has been much, I think, investment in raising awareness, in thinking about how to pursue partnerships sort of with, I think, deliberation and with the intention for council and the municipality and the community to learn as much as possible and relationship build with Indigenous persons and Indigenous peoples. So we certainly recognize the importance of recognizing the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Of course, we have recognized, as you had mentioned, Every Child Matters in the past through Orange Shirt Day, and that has been, I think, an important step, and this takes us that a little bit further, and I think that's very exciting for our community. Colleagues, any questions in regards to the day?
Yeah, thank you for that report. And the 94 calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation report, there are certain ones listed in your report that apply to municipalities, and thanks for the team to explore those. And I understand, and maybe the public isn't aware, that number 57, we're well on our way to providing education to staff and council. So I'm looking forward on October 7th to having a workshop facilitated so we can increase our awareness. Are there any other steps that are imminent besides number 57?
I think as part of our process and working with First Peoples Group, they're going to help us identify which calls to action we as a municipality can specifically act on. As you mentioned, Councillor Barkley, there's different ones that have been identified by both the Federation of Council of Municipalities and AMO, and they have different lists. So we want to identify for our size of a municipality what we can do respectfully and fully.
Good. Other questions, concerns about the report? Councillor Strachan? Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Magic. Thank you very much for the report. I appreciate the time and effort that's gone into this. I know that this is not a simple topic to address, and that we want to make sure that it's done meaningfully. And I appreciate that it's gone far beyond a land acknowledgement, and that there's meaningful action taking place in order to come to a place where we're making informed and engaged decisions on this. And so not simply forging ahead with what we think is best at this stage from a municipal perspective. So thank you very much for that. With respect to September 30th, there's been a lot of conversation about the value of the federal government making a statutory holiday and whether or not, what is meaningful about that if you take the day off and go about your regular business and so on. So I'm wondering, have we gotten to the point where we have resources and information links? I think there was talk of providing a website with information on that. Will that be ready in time for September 30th?
I believe it is live right now.
It is live right now, so that's a good place to direct folks that may have the day off already as a federal employee, for example, to spend some time and energy to learn more. So that's very good to hear. Regarding, I know that this is perhaps, I don't know if this is outside of the scope of this current report, but regarding the statutory holiday and the way that the different levels of government have addressed that, has that been part of a conversation at this stage regarding at the municipal level, how that day could be observed or best used for municipal employees?
So it has been discussed, and if it were to be declared a holiday for municipal staff, it would run very much like Remembrance Day in that regard, in regard to facilities. And I believe because council passed that resolution, I believe it was back in August to commemorate the day. We've started that conversation about what that could look like if council decides to move forward and make it a holiday for our staff.
Okay, thank you very much.
And are you seeking direction at this time in regards to how the day is recognized among municipal employees?
I believe that's at the will of council. We are set to do at your will what you would like.
And apart from the flag raising and the website, those are the primary activities foreseen for any member of the community at this stage. Is that the case?
Yes, all of our staff will be invited to attend, and we have some orange wear as well that we will be offering to staff if they're willing to wear it, and as well the community is invited, and the invitation will be going out imminently.
And I understand we've been working with school boards to invite some representatives, children and youth, I think, to also participate in the flag raising, because of course reconciliation is in part about the tragic legacy of residential schools, and I think it's critically important that kids are part of, I think, the day because they get it. They totally get it, and I think it's already being incorporated into their curriculum. So to make that connection between what they're learning in school or at home and being part of a municipal symbolic effort through the flag raising, I think is very worthwhile. So colleagues, in regards to the day, I'm hearing that it certainly can be recognized as a stat, as the federal government has done, or we can leave it for this year and plan for another year. Inviting comments, questions on that. Go ahead, Councillor Barclay.
I think I'd like to consider it for next year. I think it deserves its own discussion and a resolution to that effect. I haven't done the training yet, and that'll be on October 7th, so it seems a bit like the cart before the horse. I know it's not necessarily a stat for council, but I think there's considerations of cost and productivity and that kind of thing. So I'd like to consider it after September 30th for next year.
Any other comments or thoughts on that? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Barclay. And I think it's a very good, a nice gesture to do it, for sure. I'm not against that at all. But again, with different types of holidays, there's opinions on both sides, and I know even with Remembrance Day, making it a holiday or not, it's been discussed for eons. And getting the crowds out and to understand that what this is about. It's not just a holiday; it's some kind of remembrance. But, anyways, I agree with Councillor Barclay that we haven't done the training. Maybe it's not training; it is an education piece. Let's call it that. And I'd like to hear from these groups and understand better what we can do that's very meaningful. not just necessarily the holiday, but there's other items on that list that I think are extremely meaningful, and I'd like to be able to jump on those as quick as we can.
Councillor Strachan?
I'm not sure if this is in the realm of possibilities, but certainly it's the case, in my experience within the federal government, is that when there are holidays that are perhaps not under the, call it standard list of statutory holidays, but perhaps ones for different religious reasons and so on, that employees would have the option of taking those days as holidays because it is something meaningful to their culture, their religion, and so on, that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody. Is that in the realm of possibilities in this case, that if we were to offer the day as a day off and completely by choice for anybody who identifies as Indigenous and would like to have that day as a day for reflection, as a day to observe what the day is meant to focus on. Do we have that as an option as well within our administrative structure?
Yes, I believe that was an option.
Okay.
Councillor O'Sullivan?
Thank you. I think very good points have been raised by all my council colleagues, and I agree that it should be something that we discuss further and make a decision going forward for next year. And I think it needs to be a meaningful day that's observed for the purpose that it is. For some people, Remembrance Day is a day to get your winter snow tires put on and go shopping for Christmas as soon as the stores open at noon. For others, and I've been downtown, there's thousands of people downtown at the War Memorial in Ottawa, and it's very moving. And here in Kemptville, there's a lot of people who go to the cenotaph. So that, to me, is the reason we have the day off, and I've always participated that way. I think it's sort of good that the schools do their own ceremony on those days, because otherwise some of the kids would just be out running around playing like it was a Saturday. So I think all these things need to be considered, and I really like Councillor Strachan's approach that, you know, if someone has a particular want to be off that day, then maybe that could be decided for this year on an individual basis, but going forward, I think we should have a full discussion of what the standard decision would be.
Okay, thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. Councillor Strachan. The only other comment I would have is if it is a day of learning, and I've had some discussions as well about how other municipalities are recognizing it, certainly for Indigenous organizations, many of them are calling it a day of reflection because, of course, they've been living with the fallout from 7 generations of kids attending residential schools. So for those who are immersed in the issue, it's being considered as a day of reflection, and for those who are still learning, it is a day of learning. So to that end, if we have some expectation that municipal staff are going to attend or be strongly encouraged to attend the flag raising, I do think that perhaps that time should be allocated for them, so they're not in competing meetings, right, or don't understand the value of being at the flag raising, given that it's the first year. So I wonder if we could, you know, sometimes the office is closed for a couple of hours for important staff gatherings. Maybe this is another occasion where we allocate 2 hours for all staff to, in fact, have the time. And not feel torn, because everyone's working at a very fast pace, and that way there's an understanding that the time has been allocated for them to come and be part of something special here in the municipality, and it may generate other conversation and dialogue, and I want to check out the resources that are featured on our website or what have you. So that could also be an approach for anyone who doesn't feel that they need the day. I do support anyone who's Indigenous, identified, or has a particular attachment to the issue for whatever reason, taking the day should they feel it's appropriate to do so. Councillor Barclay?
In the interim, before we have I think it deserves a more fulsome discussion, as you might say, that, you know, having some time off on this September 30th would be appropriate. But this may be a totally different discussion, but I'd like to pick up on Councillor Strachan's idea of a discretionary day off for whatever personal reasons or religious or, cultural reasons. I think that's a very interesting idea, that it's up to staff to determine what that day might be, and it was at their discretion to take a cultural or a religious holiday. It'd be a very inclusive idea. I think it's worth discussing.
Okay. I think you have a number of different ideas on the table. Clerk, do you need anything from us at the present time?
So is there a particular direction that's coming with respect to that conversation? So if so, I would need a motion with respect to that.
Okay.
But otherwise, the motion is to receive the report with no further direction.
Okay. I see Councillor Strachan raising her hand.
I would like to raise a motion to that effect then, to offer the opportunity for individuals within the municipality who identify as Indigenous or having a connection, personal connection to that day, to be afforded the opportunity to take the day off as a holiday.
And can we add to that motion that all staff be given 2 hours?
Yes,
To
yeah,
participate
not
in the
to,
flag raising?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So Councillor Strachan has moved. Would anyone like to second that? Okay. We'll say Councillor Barclay, thank you. Any other comments on this? Okay. Then I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. Ms. Janeau, I do note that many staff have received training. Some staff have received training already. Is that the case?
Yeah, so the first training session was last week. Just under half participated last week, and then the next one's this coming Thursday, and just over half are participating in that one.
So to that end, almost all staff will have received some training.
By the 30th, yeah.
Okay, about the significance of the day. Our training as council and senior management team comes after the day, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else you need from us at the present time?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we'll keep moving on here. Nothing under finance, nothing under Office of the Clerk, Planning and Development. And under Public Works, we are welcoming Ms. Dunlap for several items, at least 2. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have 2 of the 3 items, and then I believe you're dealing with the third, or we can discuss it together. So the first item on the agenda for Public Works is the Automotive Material Stewardship, Inc. agreement. The purpose of this report is for Council to authorize the signing of the agreement for the municipality to continue to receive funds for the handling of automotive materials as part of the hazardous waste depot at the Oxford Mills Transfer Station. In last-minute contract negotiations, in conjunction with the Director of Legislative Services, the term of the contract has been redefined as a 3-year contract which terminates on December 31st, 2024. No annual acceleration clauses will be included. Currently, we receive approximately $1,500 per year to cover the cost of the handling and receiving of automotive products, which include oil containers, oil filters, and antifreeze. That completes my report unless there's questions.
Colleagues? Councillor Barclay, anything here? Okay. So then we'll move to the motion then. Councillor Barclay, do you wish to move over here? Councillor Strachan? Okay. I think Director Dunlap has been fairly clear. So we will move that Council authorizes the Director of Public Works or her designate to sign an agreement with Automotive Materials Stewardship, Inc. to allow for the continued collection of oil containers, filters, antifreeze at the Oxford Mills Transfer Station. All in favor, please. Good, thank you. That takes you to item number 2.
It does. The Gateway Signage Update and Rural Subdivisions Bylaw. The purpose of this report is to provide an update and to have council authorize the gateway speed limit of rural subdivisions to 40 kilometers per hour. Staff have identified 23 rural subdivisions that could be included in the 40 kilometer per hour gateway speed limit zone. 36 sets of signs would be required at an approximate cost of material, equipment, and staff time valued at $50,000. This is proposed to be funded through the General Public Works Reserves. The subdivisions covered under this report are Colonel by Keys, Brixton, Settlers Grant, Rideau Crossing, Stonehaven, Glen Gables, Oxford Heights, Kettle Creek, Jayland, Forest of South Gore, Shaker Village, which includes Jean-Marc and Tilly Lane, River Run, Victoria Park, Dangerfield, Marlin, Rideau Estates, Maple Stone Lakes, Tanager Woods, Amy Lane, Pelton's Corners, Blacks Meadows, Connell Farm, and Flint Hill. Some of these subdivisions are currently signed as 60 kilometers an hour, and others are currently posted or unposted at 50 kilometers per hour. The speed has been identified for each subdivision in your report. Cranberry Crescent and Bergland have been previously identified in the Urban Gateway Speed Reduction Program. Smith Road is not included due to the characteristics of the roadway and will be included in the Hamlet Assessment Program for future gateway speed reduction considerations. Preliminary data has been collected for the assessments and possible inclusion of the 40 kilometer per hour gateway program for rural hamlets. The Public Works Department has initiated discussions with United Counties of Leeds and Grenville as the main thoroughfares for rural hamlets are primarily county roads. A report will be brought back to council once the data and evaluation plus county discussions are complete. The department is trying to get this matter back in front of council by the end of 2021. That completes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Questions? I see Councillor O'Sullivan.
Thank you. Through you to Director Dunlop. Is Smith Road not considered part of Oxford Station? We actually just received a number of emails from a resident on Smith Road, and when I go down there, it seems that it's fairly close residential homes all the way down Smith Road, and the concerns about speed on there have come to our attention.
Through you, Madam Chair, the Smith Road was considered as a separate entity. Parts of it are within the hamlet, parts of it are not. It's very close. So the assessment was that certain traffic calming measures should take place on Smith Road, a center line, especially at that curve, some speed reductions as well as some additional signage. But we will also consider it and maybe take it all the way down Smith Road for continuity, because as soon as you cross the border into the next municipality, there's certain speed limits posted there. So we will make sure we take it into consideration as we bring the hamlet gateway suggestions back to council, but also Smith Road independently as a traffic calming measures.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I also had that question about Smith Road because we know how many residents have reached out to really implore us to drop the speed in certain sections. I'm heartened to hear you say that maybe for continuity there could be a uniform approach given the increasing residential development on that road. But to that end, when could we expect to deal with Smith Road?
Certain operational matters based on the traffic calming policies currently in place. We've already looked to get things such as the center line at the curve painted, so that's already on order. But the others we would bring back at the hamlet stage unless there's other recommendations independent as we move through with the new transportation policies that will be coming back to council in the short term.
Okay. So you have referenced potential speed reductions on parts of Smith Road or maybe beyond, right? Certain sections that have been analyzed. So that would be something that would be coming forward in the next couple of months?
Yes, I would anticipate. We have approximately 70 traffic reports that are under review within the department. It's catch up because we had summer students this year. So all the data collection and assessments have been completed. So we're just doing the catch up in regards to the paperwork. But as of today, we received 22 more traffic concern forms. So we're trying to catch up to 2020 and 2021.
Okay. Okay. No doubt, I think our efforts in regards to these named subdivisions will beg the question for residents who, as you can appreciate, have been waiting for some time and are very hopeful that they too may get a 40-kilometer speed reduction or speed limit on certain sections of road. So I think Councillor Sullivan is wise to highlight that, and maybe that's one that we can expedite, because I know it's been outstanding for a number of months now. So I think we look forward to settling that one sooner rather than later as a first batch that might come back to us, because I know it's a big deal there. Okay, so colleagues, we have 23 subdivisions, and Director Dunlop, I note that either they're unmarked 50s or sometimes they're marked with a 40. That's generally the situation in those subdivisions. I don't see any reference to a 60-kilometer. Is that the case?
That is correct. They're either posted 40s,
okay,
posted 50s, or unposted 50s.
Okay. And I will ask this question because it came up in a matter where a certain resident of one subdivision or several residents wanted a speed reduction to 40. There was certainly the opposing view that 50 was just fine, thank you very much. Do you expect any concerns raised about reducing it to 40? What's your general feeling about how the speed reductions will be welcomed?
To date, the department has not received any saving except the odd request to leave it as a 50.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there has been a communication out in the community that the anticipation of council is to reduce the rural subdivisions to a 40, but we'll see when we put the signs up will be the true test. So I said the vocal 40s much more than the non-vocal 50s, yes.
Indeed. Indeed. And certainly this is something that we encourage you to bring back as quickly as possible and to save some effort from having to go in and individually evaluate those subdivisions. I certainly think as there's increasing awareness and insistence on road safety by residents in the community, that for the most part this is likely to be welcomed. So we appreciate that you were able to name all of these and bring them to our attention for a speed reduction. Councillor Barclay, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, thank you, Director Dunlop. I just note that the reason we're not applying this gateway signage program to the hamlets is because they often involved county roads, but that it's going to require just as many signs because of the different entry points into these hamlets. So is it safe to say that the same budget allocation would be required to take care of the hamlets, approximately 50,000?
Through you, Madam Chair. It is estimated 36 signs are required for the rural subdivisions, 32 for the hamlet, so you're very correct. Yeah. It will be a very similar dollar value should that program move forward.
Okay, great.
And there are no efficiencies, right, in marking rural subdivisions versus county roads, right?
The gateway program is very prescriptive under the Highway Traffic Act. You have to sign it as you go in and sign it as you go out. So for efficiencies, the rural subdivisions are actually set up very well for that. Typically they have one or two entrances and exits. So there is an efficiency using the gateway program under the Highway Traffic Act. If we were just to change the 40s to standard signage, we'd have to put one every so many meters, every intersection, etc. So there's efficiencies within the gateway program, efficiencies within the rural subdivisions, but they'd have to be, but the hamlets have a different spider web of roadways compared to rural subdivisions.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. And just sitting, wearing my county council hat, where I sit as one of 10 mayors, there has also been a discussion and a flag that certainly, in the case of North Granville, we have a strong appetite to see some speed reduction on relevant county roads, and throughout, again, the United Counties, there's a lot of requests for speed reduction. So one of the things we've brought to the county's attention is that we've just done a comprehensive road safety policy framework, and I would expect the United Counties should be doing something similar because of how many of their county roads intersect directly in urban cores or next to schools or whatever. So I look forward to that next phase of our discussion when it comes to how to slow traffic down in some of our hamlets. Okay, so Councillor Barclay, would you like to move?
Yes.
Okay, seconder, please. Thank you. Councillor Sullivan, and of course, the motion is that be it resolved that Council receive the report titled Gateway Signage Update and approve and enact Bylaw 9421 to amend Bylaw 7318 to designate the rural subdivision roads contained therein as having a special limit of 40 kilometers an hour and authorize the erection of gateway signage to reflect the speed limits of these roads. And we do know, I'm editorializing now, that OPP enforcement is part of what makes any speed reduction a success, and we look forward to working with them in that regard, as it pertains to this particular list of roads. Any further comment, colleagues? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. Okay, that passes. Director Dunlop, I guess now you're off to the work of getting those signs up. I know there's a third item that we were expecting to deal with tonight, and I think you're going to provide rationale for a deferral that we are likely to support. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. Questions have been raised in regards to some clarity required in regards to the level of responsibility for a position in regards to the assessments for municipal drains. So based on the additional information from a drainage engineer, the department would like and ask to defer this report until council can receive a presentation from McIntosh Perry. This topic can be quite diverse, and on November the 2nd, we will have a presentation by McIntosh Perry, who will lay out the requirements for council, and then Public Works will provide an update to both council and the Agricultural Committee. As I said, it is a diverse topic, and assessments, both detailed and simplistic, have different approaches.
Okay. Colleagues, does that sound good? Okay, good. We have a working relationship with Mac Perry on some other files, so I think they'll bring some insight into the issue, so that's excellent. Okay, looking for a mover on this one? Deputy Mayor, seconder over on this side of the House. Councillor Strachan. Excellent. And as Director Dunlop noted, be it resolved that Council refer the report titled Agricultural Tile Drainage Record and Municipal Drain Update Strategy until staff receive further advice from its drainage engineer, McIntosh Perry. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Dunlop. Okay, I think we are nearing the end here, colleagues, which is remarkable. Minutes have already been passed through the consent agenda. There is nothing on the Parks, Rec, and Culture list this evening except for the report Ms. Sturdy has already provided us with. Nothing for Emergency and Protective Services. As noted, we've already dealt with correspondence and some minutes. So I'll look to the introduction and consideration of bylaws. Ms. Babcock-Cormier, we just dealt with bylaw 9421, if I'm not mistaken.
I confirm that's correct, Your Worship.
Excellent. So just any questions from members of the community or the media who happen to be in the room? I do note the presence of the illustrious reporter from the Kemptville events. Hello. Are you good this evening? Would you like to ask any questions? Good. Okay. Anyone else wishing to comment on any matter in regards to the agenda? Seeing none. Okay. And Councillor Sullivan, before I go to you, Ms. Babcock-Cormier, did you receive anything by email for anyone watching online?
No, I have not, Your Worship. I have just checked a couple of minutes ago and haven't received anything.
And I did, someone asked me a question today about whether or not on the YouTube live stream are people able to comment?
They're not, Your Worship. They're to send in any questions or comments that they may have 2 hours prior to the council meeting.
And does the YouTube preamble state that?
The council agenda preamble states that,
okay.
And it's also published that way in the newspaper.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to, I don't know whether it's under J, other business, or questions, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to let folks in the room know, as well as those listening at home, that the IPM, the International Plowing Match, which will be held here next September, we're very, very excited about that. Next week, there will be 2 volunteer information sessions that will be held here in the Municipal Centre on September 29th from 7 to 9 in Suite A, and on September 30th, same presentation both nights, so if you can make one or the other. September 30th will be in this room in the theatre from 7 to 9, and we will have directors there from the IPM 2020 North Grenville to discuss what their volunteer needs are, share any information about the IPM, and we look forward to seeing as many people out for that as possible. And there is an email address if you're interested in volunteering or you need more information. It will be on the website. It's IPM 2022 volunteer@plowingmatch.org. So we look forward to hearing from a lot of people and seeing a lot of people those nights. And the second thing I would like to bring to people's attention is that the North Grenville Curling Club is very happy to be opening again this year for in-person curling rather than doing it on video or with your Wii curling. So registration is going on right now. There is a very active Learn to Curl program, and there are also a number of leagues. There's men's league, ladies league, mixed, competitive, and recreational leagues. A lot to offer, and we welcome members for the North Grenville Curling Club. So hurry hard and get yourself registered. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Strachan.
I have a question for Councillor O'Sullivan regarding the volunteer night. And hopefully you're able to answer this. Are high school students in their volunteer hours that they need to graduate, or would they be eligible for some of the volunteer positions?
Yes, absolutely. In Verner last year, they had 1,400 volunteers plus 200 students that volunteered. And yes, we would be able to provide them the certificates that showed that they contributed volunteer hours for sure. There'll be lots of things to do. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. I'm mentally signing up my daughter.
As you should, as we all should, really. And thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan, and I know Ms. Kathy Shepherd, who has also stepped up to co-chair the volunteer recruitment effort. It's a big task, and of course we are very excited to host the IPM next year. I think it will be the largest event. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think it would be the largest event that North Grenville has ever hosted, or certainly the town of Kemptville prior to amalgamation. So a major, major effort, and want to thank the multiple partners involved, the Ontario Plowmen's Association, the Grenville Plowmen's Association, the Ministry of the Solicitor General when it comes to farmside lands is also involved, and of course Kemptville campus. Are you going to talk about Maple Weekend? Okay. I love talking about Maple Weekend. Okay, I'll let Deputy Mayor talk about our fantastic Maple Weekend that's coming up, and Deputy Mayor, as part of the nights, is going to put off the most delicious pancake breakfast and more. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, that was about it. Through you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I had it in my head.
I know.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Fall in Love with Maple is this weekend, coming Saturday and Sunday, 10 till 4. The breakfast for pancakes is 10 to 1. Knights of Columbus are doing up the pancakes, so we've got lots of volunteers for that. It is at the Agroforest on Bedell Road, and lots of North Grenvilleans don't know where it is, so come on out and see it. It's wonderful. There's some new trails in there. There's some work they've been doing. There is going to be a maple syrup demonstration, so we'll get the boilers going, or the evaporators, I guess they call them, going. So there'll be that demonstration. There'll also be forest experts. These are certified forest guys. Anyways, they'll take us through the forest in groups every 45 minutes, I believe. And there's 29 plus different species of trees and whatnot in there that have been planted there for a long, long time. Just to note, this is the Kemptville Campus Agroforest, and it has been there for well, more than 100 years, but the actual organization has been there over 100 years. And a lot of the trees were purposely planted too. So it was great information. It'll be a great day, hopefully good. We'll have great weather. And Madam Mayor, if you'd like to fill in anything, go ahead.
Only to say that for those who don't know, it's 180 acres of sustainably certified forest. And that's something that Council and Campus did a couple of years ago, was to designate that that the forest itself would be sustainably managed for the decades and centuries to come. So I think a real pride point for the campus. And we should also note that Kempville Live is featuring some music. So if you want to check out the trails, you can also enjoy some great music courtesy of Kempville Live and some local musicians. And on Sunday, there will be a special designation for a person who worked tirelessly to keep the sugar bush going and to contribute to the well-being of the forest that so many will be able to enjoy on the weekend. Unfortunately, he tragically died unexpectedly due to some health issues a couple of years ago. So we're taking the opportunity on Sunday to name part of the forest in his honor and really recognize the work. I think it's safe to say in the transition between Kempville College to Kempville Campus, there were a number of people who really saw the Agroforestry Center as a bit of a passion project, and they kept the maple syrup flowing to some extent, and more recently have done quite a bit of work to upgrade the sugar bush. And we know some of our municipal staff and volunteers and Trails Committee have also been paying particular attention to the well-being of trails with some more signage, et cetera. Councillor Sullivan, I don't know if you want to add more on that part.
Thank you. Yes, I do want to acknowledge probably between Parks and Rec and Public Works that there is now a more a definite trail that links the rail trail to the Sugar Bush Trail. So if you're going down the rail trail, there's really nice access now in a stone dust pathway that goes in to connect to the Sugar Bush Trail, which is very, very nice. So I appreciate Parks and Rec and Public Works for getting that done, as well as a lot of other work that they've done over the summer to improve connections and trails, etc. And just a reminder for everyone that as of tomorrow, so definitely for the events next week and this weekend, you will need to provide proof of your vaccinations to be allowed into those events, so as well as normal screening. Just a reminder. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, anything else? Councillor Barclay, go ahead.
Not to be not to be excluded, I'd like to put in a plug for Busker Fest, which is happening downtown Kempville in May of next year. They're also looking for volunteers. Not to take anything away from the plowing match, but it does happen before the plowing match. Maybe volunteers can tune up to all the fun of volunteering for an event downtown. You know, I was involved with the Dandelion Festival up until 2014, and that was a wonderful event that happened downtown. And I think this is another possibly signature event for downtown. So I encourage people to go to Busker Fest. Where is this? KempvilleBuskerFest.ca, and they can put their name down to get on the mailing list and enjoy the benefits of volunteering for a great event downtown. Thanks.
Yes, Councillor Sullivan.
Not just to have the last word, but I do want to also express appreciation to the BIA and everyone involved in the yoga festival that was on the weekend. It was a beautiful day. I unfortunately couldn't stay for it all. I was just there for a brief time in the morning, but it was a great event, and I think something that maybe we could see on an annual basis. So appreciation to everyone involved in that.
Councillor Strakian.
I'm just going to put in a plug for our latest yoga teacher, Mayor Peckford. She led one of the sessions and did a fantastic job. And I'd like to say thank you very much for that. I know that it was very brave of you to get up there, and it was there were some nerves, but I think you did a fantastic job. And I agree with Councillor O'Sullivan. I think this could be a bigger event in future years, and the campus was the best place for it. It was a wonderful event. So thank you very much, and thank you for leading us in a wonderful session.
That's very, very kind, very generous.
Madam Mayor.
Just happy to do my part. Just
Madam
doing my
Mayor,
part.
I missed that demonstration. We have a stage right behind you and an audience.
One of these days. Okay. I appreciate all the comments and the tremendous effort that went into the Yoga Fest. So another destination experience for North Grenville. My God, like if people think that there's not enough happening here, I would beg to differ. So lots of creativity. And coming out of COVID, I think we're so encouraged to see, I shouldn't say coming out of COVID, managing COVID, because we're certainly not out, but owing to very high vaccination rates here, I think we're extremely blessed and grateful to be able to continue with these events with a degree of vigilance and safety that I think certainly bodes well for the future. Cross our fingers. So it's awesome, as you can see, you have a council who does not rest and is very pleased to see so much happening and wants to be a part of it. I will say, Councillor Sullivan, I have bowed to pressure, I have succumbed, and I have signed up for the beginner program for the curling club. So I've never curled before. It wasn't a sport that I did as a young person, but happy to make sure that the numbers are there. So the curling club opens. I think you need about 20, 25 more curlers. Is that it?
I think it may be very close to
Okay.
having the numbers required right now, especially with I think you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Strachan, we're just waiting for the holdout over there.
Okay. Well, you know, when there's not enough on the agenda, clearly we'll fill the time anyway. So with no further questions, I'm going to look to close the meeting, and I'll have Ms. Babcock-Cormier read the confirmation bylaw.
Be it resolved that Bylaw 9521 to confirm the proceedings of Council at its regular meeting held on September 21, 2021 be adopted and passed.
I'll look for a mover, please. Councillor Strachan, Deputy Mayor, thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. And then resolution to adjourn. Councillor Sullivan and Barkley. I was recounting to someone how our meetings used to go till 11. And that seems like the distant future now, and I think we all are so grateful that we get to end at a reasonable time. So I'll call the question on a motion to adjourn at 7:53 p.m. All in favor? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.